Hello everyone and welcome to our very first Empyreal patch video. Today we're going to be going through some of the changes that we've made to Empyreal based on player feedback and also some of the things that we wanted to make changes to in the game as well. We're going to go through some of the main changes, but we've made hundreds of changes, so if you want to see the full list, that will be available in our patch notes. For now though, we're going to start with one of the most requested changes, which is our objective tracker system.
Also, this is the first patch after launch, so it has a lot of bug fixing and balancing changes, but there is one new feature, which is this show path to objective. So this is for the hub only, but this is where many of you express some frustration in not being able to find the NPCs, which is understandable when you're first exploring the game. You don't know where people are, you don't know where people live. So that's Edmund over there in the command center, which some of you will be familiar with. I won't talk to him, I've just skipped ahead, and now our objective is explore the ziggurat, and so you can see the blue line taking us there. But it's not just for the main quest, so you can see here that I've got my quest log. I'm going to activate the archaeologist. I've not ever talked to Lynette before, so I don't know where she is, but if I activate her quest, then the game will actually point me in her direction. So this is a great way for you to initially meet all the NPCs. You could track their quests, but during the progress of those quests, it may not always be directing you to where they are. And so, it will direct you to the objective. So it is just in the hub. Many of the quests have like hidden secret objectives inside the ziggurat, so it doesn't track in the ziggurat. That's still for you to find and figure out. But just while you're initially learning the game, figuring out where everyone is, this will help you meet all the NPCs. And then following on from that new feature demonstration, we've got a list of our gameplay adjustments. So these are some of the more significant balancing changes that we've made in the patch. There are actually more than this. We're not covering the patch exhaustively in this video. We're just going to show like the things that have been most talked about, most requested, or are the most impactful to your experience. So one of the big changes we've made is the early game overall should be significantly easier. That was a big sticking point for a lot of players, where when you're starting out the game and you're not familiar with all the systems and mechanics, it can feel a bit overwhelming given how much enemies are hitting you for. We've also reduced the stun. That was another thing that being stunned should feel like it's punishing, but it shouldn't feel like an automatic death sentence. So we'll show how that works again as well. The same thing with smogged, which is what consumed relates to. And then there's a small one at the bottom there, which is easier to explain in the video. So we've got a showcase of that. So we'll talk about each one of these in a bit more detail now.
Just to show you some examples of these first 2 points on the list, you can see here that the changes to the background. So this is version 1. And then this is version 2. You can see that for all of these, the weapon power and the impact has changed. We've got another example here. Having a look at the stats, and you can see their improvement there. And the last example, yeah, weapon power, impact, much improved. Even for the most sad of backgrounds, you get a little boost as well. The inebriated rambler gets some help too. So the next video shows you an example of those two things working together, both the increased power and also the decreased power of the enemies. So this is version 1.0. You can see here you're not doing that much damage at the very start. And for new players, that was a little bit tricky. Yeah, have a look here.
30%,
yeah,
20%.
20% damage there. And then for patch version 1.1, you'll see the massive increase in damage, and you'll just feel a lot more powerful at the start of the game. And this doesn't just affect these enemies, it affects bosses too. So we're hoping that gives players a better onboarding experience when they join the game and play the game for the first time. On top of these changes to the backgrounds, we've also improved the starting consumables that you get. So instead of Shield Restore 1, you will get Shield Restore 3s. And we've also made sure that Shield Restore 3 is significantly better. So there's more healing for that as well. This is version 1. It's okay, but
It's okay.
it's not as good.
It didn't do much.
It didn't do that much. And patch version 1.1. Check out this, you're going to be super healed. Yay, that's so much better. So yeah, it's a bit more friendly to newer players. Use it twice, just waste another one.
Well, you get the overhealing over time then.
Yes, that's true.
The next two big adjustments that we made were to these status effects. So I'll put them together because they're both status effects and they're both ones that kind of got a lot of sentiment around them being significantly harder than the other status effects. So that wasn't necessarily the intention, that these ones should really stand out as being particularly punishing. There's burning and chilled, and those haven't had adjustments. They seem to be balanced. They're hard to deal with, and they're meant to be punishing, but not like brutally so. But these ones seem to stand out as being much harder than those. So the first thing we did is reduce the duration of stun from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. And you can kind of see that here. So on the left, you've got version 1.0, on the right, patch that's coming out. And you can see on the right, the player's already stood up by the time that the left-hand player is still on the ground. These are not the only changes we made to stun. We actually added a 3-second grace period after you've recovered from stun, where you don't receive any more stun build-up, so you're not going to get chain stunned anymore. And then more of a minor change, but we did reduce some of the stun build-up on specific enemy abilities. So there were a handful of enemy abilities in the game that would stun you instantly, and now they do something like 60 to 70% stun build-up. So those changes all combined should mean that stun is still, it's still something you have to deal with, something you have to think about, but not like an instant death sentence as soon as you get stunned. And then the other status effect we made adjustments to is smogged and consumed. So you can see here I'm about to become consumed, 69 HP. And that's pretty scary to see all your health go in one go.
That always got me, that one.
And Captain Spandex was not happy about that. So he was pretty... Yeah.
I got you, homie!
We decided to I got you, we're going to make those changes. So now when you consumed, that was only 41k. That's about 60%. Well, it's exactly 60%. So it used to be 100%, now 60% of your HP. So again, it's not intended to trivialize these mechanics. It's just intended to make them more in line with the other status effects in the game.
The last significant change that we've made on the list today is the fact that you are now able to use your ultimate and it will completely stop any movement for the duration of the camera cut, which is very nice because it's very, very sad when you use your ultimate and then the things run away from you. It's very sad. So I'll just show you a video of that. So this is version 1.0. You've used your ability, you've wasted it, he's run away. It's all very sad. It's not cool at all. He's taunting you now, basically. And then in patch version 1.1, you can see here the enemy's frozen, and bam, actually you've flinched him out of his attack there currently as well. But yeah, the enemies will stay in place and you'll get the absolute best use of your ultimate, which is very cool and will make a lot of people happy, I'm sure.
Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is some of the gear adjustments that we've made. So these will have an effect on gameplay, but they kind of belong in their own category because it's specifically how certain items have changed. The first big one that we've done is Ether Touch has received a big buff. Now there's no negative effect, it only gets 2 bonus effects. There were a lot of curios in the game, well not a lot, there was like about 12 curios in the game that didn't have stats or sets that they belong to, so those have been changed now. And we'll talk about that when we get to them, but there's also a change to limit broken equipment now sells for a lot more money. This will mostly be good for anyone in endgame and you're dealing with limit broken equipment, but now you should have a better economy, just a bit easier way to make money. And then this is a kind of a small bug that we fixed really, but it was a bug that was found by one of our Discord members who pointed it out that all the weapons that he was getting in certain situations had all the same model. So the first one I want to talk about is quite a significant change because it's a significant buff to Ether Touch gear. So Ether Touch gear on version 1.0, you had this negative resistance added. So you can see that there's 2 stats in in purple. So this one, minus 30%, in the bin.
Bye, we don't need you.
Now you get the stats increased, just like before, but one of the resistance is now a positive resistance. So instead of minus 30, we've got plus 20%. So this is just a straight buff to Ether Touch. Ether Touch is meant to be the best gear in the game. It's obviously the gear that you guys gift to each other, and you don't know who's going to receive it. You don't know, where it's going to go. So it's meant to be like a really positive thing when you do get one to drop. So that's the reason for that change.
So just to show you a little bit more detail about the curios that we've changed. Here in version 1.0, I'll show you some of the existing curios, and you can see here that, yeah, the Smudged Request doesn't have anything. This does have a set, but then the Master Schematic does not have a set, and it doesn't have any effect. So we've basically made changes to that, so all of them do have an effect and a set. So yeah, I'll show you now in 1.1 how that differs. Showing you the same 3 curios. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, now you can see that the smudge request is belonging to the right arm of the company. The weapon power is slightly increased. This one, the lethality is increased. It says a moderate amount, but it's actually quite a lot. It's really good. And this increases all elemental damage dealt. This is actually important. We didn't just put random stats. We made sure that they matched the set and they do things that would be helpful for the set. So yeah, this might be really impactful. Yeah, so have a look for all the curios and make sure you get there.
The next one is about just slightly improving the economy in the end game. So limit broken equipment now sells for more. So in version 1.0, you're going to see me limit break a glaive, and I'm going to take it all the way up to plus 15. And the reason I show the whole process is because some of you already know this, having reached this point, but you'll see there that limit breaking is very expensive. So 13k there, 16k, and then taking it from 14 to 15, I'm spending 20k. So in total, I've spent a lot of money to get that to plus 15. And in version 1.0, we're just going to run over to Rollin and see how much he's willing to offer us for it. And you can see that it's a pretty disappointing. So we've just invested something like 60, 70 grand into this weapon to level it up. But in terms of how much Rollin's willing to pay for it, he doesn't really recognize the investment that we've made. It's in fact 3,000 silver to sell. And the level 10 glaive that we have next to it is also 3,000 silver. So that just seemed a bit off. That didn't seem like that it should be that way, so we've made a change now. Here we are in patch version 1.1, you can see at the bottom right, and we're going to talk to Rollin, and this time we're going to be able to sell him our level 15 for 35,000.
Yeah, he's no longer stingy.
No. This is something that, for those of you who are in endgame, can take note of, because you probably won't want to sell the equipment that you've limit broken. You probably limit broken for a reason. It's part of the set that you're using, for example. Solid there. But when you're doing very high level cartograms, you can get gear that drops already limit broken, so it's already higher than plus 10. And if that's not an item that you need, now you're going to be able to sell it for a lot more, and it will just improve your ability to limit break the gear that you do want to use in your set.
Another thing that was reported by someone in the Discord was the fact that all of the models for the weapons were the same when they were dropped from bosses. And this is very sad because there's loads of cool models, so we wanted to make sure that as a player you can get those. So this is what it looked like. This is a screenshot from Aaron, I hope I've said that correctly. But yeah, as you can see, they're all the same model, which is kind of disappointing when there's so many cool ones. And then, as you can see in patch 1.1, I'm going slow for dramatic effect. The final reveal will show you. Da, 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 da. We all have these new models now, and there's lots of fancy ones.
Well, they're not new, they've always been there.
Well, they've always been there, you just weren't getting them. So now you are, so thank you very much for reporting that bug. I can't believe we missed it. Really appreciate that. But yeah, now we've got a cool new weapon. Another thing we've done is made a lot of improvements to sound. So we've added or adjusted sound effects to various interactables, voice in the darkness, apparitions, boss teleporters, cartogram machines, iterators, etc. We've added a new detonated sound effect to elemental detonations as well. We've got a new sound effect when receiving an item based on item rarity, which is very satisfying. We've improved sound effects for several boss abilities, and we've added new or improved existing sounds for many different things, multiple player, enemy combat abilities and effects as well. And if you have a listen, I'm going to show you an example of one of those next.
This is the final section we've got for you today, although again there's more changes than this in the patch, but these are the kind of the ones we wanted to show off. So the last kind of section is about quality of life changes. So these are just small changes that should just make the game a little bit smoother to play, really. Not necessarily game changing, but they will just help with the experience. So the first one, which I've got a short demonstration of, is the consumable slots in your stash were currently limited to 100. We are actually working on increasing this even more, but for now we've managed to set it to 400. It's not possible to just set it to infinity just with by adding a few more zeros, because that can have performance implications. But we are actually working on increasing it more. So in the next patch, hopefully it's even better. But 100 to 400 is already quite a big jump. We also fixed a bug. Again, this was reported by players on our Discord. They noticed that they weren't always getting the right cartograms when they were searching for them in their inventory when they were looking for a specific set. So any issues with filtering, any issues with searching when you're looking for a specific set should be resolved now, and it should be a bit easier for you to narrow down the cartograms that have the set that you're looking for. And then finally, many people, including myself, were struggling to get the pure quartz treasure, specifically among all the tier 5 treasures in the game, which are used for limit breaking, so it's a very significant end game item. Pure quartz was often the one that we found ourselves having a hard time finding, and that's because it only drops from one gathering spot, which is the mineral deposit, and had a 1% drop chance. So I've actually increased the drop chance from 1% to 10%. So now you should see a lot more of those naturally and not rely on randomly getting them enrolled in shop.
I was always so lucky with those.
Oh, really? Well,
I felt so bad. I was like, I'll send them to everybody. Yeah, I was really lucky.
In this video, I've mysteriously somehow managed to get 1,995 explosive grenades. We can do some damage with those. Don't ask me how I did that. That's dev privileges. But you can see even with that many grenades, I'm going to go to my stash and you'll see that I've got this spectacular arsenal now. I'm using the controller, but I switched to keyboard and mouse just so I can show you that we've got this massive amount of consumables now. But even with almost 2,000, I've actually still got a free slot there. So that shows that there's actually 2,000 in total that you can have with everything stacking times 5. So that's 400 slots in your consumable stash now. And yeah, that's the kinds of ones that we've got little videos to show for you, little showcases, things like that, the ones that we thought were the most significant and we wanted to talk about. But yes, there are many more changes. You can find the full patch notes on various places, Steam, Discord. We have a wiki, which Effects for Life maintain, and the patch notes will be there as well. But yeah, as a general summary, balancing the early game is quite a big change. I doesn't mention it there, but yes, of course, we added the quest tracker, so that obviously helps with the early game experience where you're still locating all the other characters. We've adjusted some of the more punishing mechanics, the ones that really felt like they were just out of line with the other status effects. Improved gear, I call it satisfaction here, just things that are just generally better. You've got better Ether Touch gear, better gear sell prices, and those curios that didn't have effects now do, so you've got more choices there. There was quite a lot of audio work done, so I didn't want to leave that out. There's lots and lots and lots of sound. Sometimes I'm playing the game now and I'll say, oh, there's a new sound there, and I didn't even think about it. But yeah, it does affect the overall experience, and then a few quality of life changes as well.
Yeah, thanks for everybody who contributed on the Discord, in the forums, who reported bugs within our bug tracker. It's made massive improvements to the game, and all of the feedback from you has really, really helped us. So because we're a smaller team, it allows us to have that kind of dialogue with our players, and it's so very much appreciated. We've been able to make so many changes to the game based on that. So thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it. And yeah, look forward to the new patch. Thank you very much.